Cool. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Hello everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Brand Your Passion. I am super excited today because I'm joined by my wonderful friend and colleague, Charli Prangley. So welcome to the show.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be a guest.
Yeah. So do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do and what your creative life looks like?
Sure. Well, there's a lot of things, but I'll try to keep it brief. So my main thing is I'm the marketing design lead at ConvertKit, and that's where I am Hollie's colleague, because Hollie works with us on graphic design stuff for ConvertKit, which is very cool. And on the side, I have a bunch of different side hustles. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about design that's called Charli TV. I make weekly or sometimes twice weekly videos just about life as a designer. I have a podcast about design called Design Life. I have another podcast / video series now about marketing design specifically called Inside Marketing Design. Those are the main content platforms, but I'm also I feel like always creating and always coming up with ideas and new things that I want to be doing. I made my first font this year. So yeah, a creator in general is how I describe myself.
I love that. I was thinking when I was writing the questions about you and what to ask you and what to talk about, I was listing all the things that you do, and that you've listed some already, but that you have your YouTube channel, and that's kind of your main thing. You've got the multiple podcasts. You've also made merch in the past. You've created fonts, as you said. You used to have a blog, and you still write on that you have a new blog that you write on now. Yep. So have you always felt just called to be creative? How has that kind of come to be part of who you are?
Definitely. I think when I think back to why I became a designer, one of the reasons I think is that I used to be doing these creative projects in my spare time while I was in high school. I used to make my own magazine layouts by cutting up words and stuff and pictures from other magazines and getting A4 paper and making it a book and making my own magazine layouts. I feel like that was my first introduction and inspiration for design. Amazing. So I'm always finding myself things to do, and just as I've grown up and especially as I've gotten further into my career, the creative things I'm doing turn into more projects or side businesses even, rather than just making magazine collages.
Yeah. I love that that's your first memory of being creative, because I remember in primary school, a friend of mine and I sat down in our lunchtime and made a fashion magazine, and we just it was just hand drawn. We were drawing these fashion designs and making this magazine of fashion that we thought was cool, and we were 11. And so it's just funny that your kind of initial design story or memory of being creative is similar. Maybe magazines is the way in.
I feel magazines maybe was for our generation what, I don't know, Instagram story layouts and things might be for the current generation. Yeah.
Wow, I feel old and I'm only 26. Wow. Okay, so since the magazine, can you tell us a little bit about a brief overview of your journey since then to where you're at now?
Yeah. So I decided very early on, I think when I was about 16, I decided I wanted to be a designer. So I haven't really, I don't know, I've just always been on that career path ever since I first started thinking about a career. Went to school for design, Massey University, did a Bachelor of Design with honors there. Started working out as a graphic designer, was my first job in the industry, doing more print-based stuff, and then transitioned into working in marketing design and tech, which is where I've been ever since at a few different companies, but, I've been doing that kind of role and, place in the company ever since then. My first side hustle, though, I started while I was in university, and it was this t-shirt business. I just started designing lyric graphics because I was a little emo kid who loved me some Fall Out Boy and some Panic at the Disco. I still do. And I started making these little type layouts and posted them to Tumblr, because that was the thing you did back in the day. Mm-hmm. People liked them and, asked for me to put them on t-shirts. And so I worked out how to do that. And I ran that as a business for about 10 years. That was a decade-long business that I sunsetted not too long ago, actually, because I just wasn't passionate about it anymore. I wanted to put my focus on other things, mostly the YouTube channel and the content and writing and that sort of stuff, which is, as you mentioned, I had a blog previously, and now I've got a different type of blog. I feel like I sort of pick projects up and put them down again when I feel like they run out of steam, or I'm just not passionate about them anymore. I want to make sure I'm always spending my time on stuff that I'm interested in and that fuels me rather than takes my energy, you know?
Yeah, that's amazing. And one of the things that I was curious to talk to you about is that when I first met you, which was like 6 years ago now, apparently, I think, when I thought about it, you had your YouTube channel and your blog, but it was quite different to what you're doing now, right? It was, you still were talking about design, but it was also a lot about like beauty and lifestyle, and you were getting like makeup sent to you in the mail.
Yeah, that's right. They used to come
like
to the office when we worked together at Xero, didn't it?
Yeah, I think I stole some products from you.
Well, I think I gave them to you.
Yeah. And so I was curious about like how you kind of transitioned from being known as this beauty lifestyle with a bit of design thrown in to now being completely all about design. I feel like everybody knows you as a marketing designer and someone who's an expert in like design and design careers. So how did you sort of transition that personal brand, I guess?
Yeah. So I think this was, I can't remember what year it was now, but it was probably maybe 3 years ago that I made this transition. I was making videos about fashion, like lifestyle and DIY projects, as well as design. And I decided I wanted to focus just on design because that was the thing I was most passionate about. I was running out of steam with the other things. So, you know, like I've done with other projects, I wanted to put those down, but not put down the whole YouTube channel, you know?
Yeah.
And I honestly, my transition was just, okay, I'm not going to make content about that anymore. I'm just going to talk about design and I'm just going to do that. But it was surprising to me how long it took for the way other people saw my content to catch up with what I was actually doing. Because people would describe me as like a design and DIY YouTuber mostly previously. And it took a long time, like maybe even up to a year for that to go away in people's description of me when they would like, I don't know, I'd be at an event and they were introducing me to a friend. It was really interesting to me to hear what people say. And I always find it really interesting just in general to hear how other people describe what you do. I should have made you introduce me at the start of this podcast so I could get ahead of that here.
True.
But yeah, it was really just me starting to make design content, and eventually the outside perception of that caught up and other people saw me as that design content too. I remember when I started getting put on roundup lists for design YouTube channels, and I was like, yes, it's working. Finally.
Yeah. So the main way you would say you did that is through the content that you made? Yeah. And so did you, you know, in your Instagram bios and how you describe your YouTube channel, did you change those as well to say like, hey, I'm a design YouTuber, or hey, I'm a, you know, however you described yourself?
Yeah, I think I probably used to have a bio that said something about like making design, lifestyle, DIY videos on YouTube, like trying to describe it all. And so I think around this time, it was a few years ago now, so I'm like struggling to remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I wrote new bios for myself as well. And I feel like I've been on this constant journey ever since of trying to work out how to say exactly what it is that I do. And I've come around to now feeling like my content is about helping other creatives to increase their worth as a creative professional. That's sort of how I'm describing things now. Because it is design, but it's also about creative careers and that sort of thing too. Yeah,
that's definitely what I kind of think of when I think about you, and especially in terms of like the podcast that you have. Both of them are like very geared towards helping other creatives who want to progress in their career, whether they're designers or whatever. So I think when I think about your teaching, I think about, career advancement and how to be a more confident and, creative who feels like they are getting what they're worth and feels worthy as well. So it's working.
Good. I'm glad that's working. Yeah, I think it is a lot about, especially when making a shift like I did, you have to lead the way, right? With not only the content you're putting out, but how you describe yourself. You have
Yeah.
to kind of put words in other people's mouths in a way, and put out there how you want to be described.
Yeah.
And it's always really exciting to me when I do hear someone describe me or like see a bio written for me on one of these article roundups or something that just nails it and is like exactly something that I would say. And I'm like, yes, it's like, I've done my job. It's working.
Yeah. Did you feel like, did it take you a while to kind of feel confident saying, I'm just about design? Or did you feel pretty confident from the outset?
Yeah, it did take me a while. And honestly, I wonder how long I would have kept up doing the other stuff if it wasn't for this, I don't know how to describe it, like boot camp thing, I guess, that I was a part of called YouTube Next Up. It's a thing that gets run, I don't know if it does anymore, but it did back then, at YouTube spaces around the world. So it's like, you know, the YouTube filming space, the offices, YouTube themselves run this. You send in a video to apply to be a part of it, and it's for smaller creators especially. So people less than 100,000, so still can be quite big, I guess, to get into it. But yeah, I got into that, and that's where I remember sitting in the YouTube space and making this decision, because they were taking us through our content plan and like who our ideal viewer was, and what we wanted to be teaching or like sharing with them. And I was writing all the stuff about design and no mention at all of the fashion or the beauty or the DIY projects. And I was just like, okay, I think I need to do this. And I think it took me a while to get there because I maybe wasn't confident in myself as a designer that I could, you know, just be about only that. I felt like it was a bit of a crutch to have that other stuff, to be like, oh, well, that design video wasn't very good, but that's okay because it's not really what I do. Like I do all this other stuff too, you know. It was kind of like my out. So yeah, I felt a lot of pressure, I think, since I committed to design content to make it really useful and to make sure I'm talking about things that can you swear on this podcast, that I know my stuff on. And just making sure that I'm proud of everything that I put out. And I think it's been good pressure for me in a way. Like I needed that little change, and it's my side projects in that way have helped my career too. Like they've helped me advance as a designer, even though I'm sharing advice for other people, it's helping myself as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like on a personal level, I have kind of made a shift from doing design work to more like brand strategy, coaching, consulting, and only probably in the last like couple of months have I found myself introducing myself as a brand strategist and coach instead of as a designer. And it took me a long time, I think, to feel confident doing that, because I sort of feel the same. I had like this like ties to how I was known in the past, and then this pressure about then being able to show up as a brand strategist and coach and feeling confident in that. So like, yeah, I totally understand that feeling and agree that it's like a good pressure. And also that it's, definitely once you've kind of made that internal decision, it's like, okay, I got to externalize that now, and I've got to be the first person to say, this is who I am, this is what I do, because otherwise how do other people know? Who knows?
Yeah, totally. And I don't know if you felt this in making your shift from, you know, design to brand strategy, but one thing I worried about was because I'd been like focusing for so long on growing my audience on my YouTube channel, and I was like, okay, what if people are only here for the DIY projects and the fashion content? Then they're all going to go away and not going to have an audience anymore. Which now I know, like, why was I worried about that? Like, you shouldn't make content just because that's what people are interested in. You should make content that you care about and that you are interested in sharing. That's the most important thing. And if it means that there's a shift in this audience and some people leave, that's okay, because a bunch of new people are going to find you, and it will be a bunch more because your content is just going to be coming from a much more genuine place of passion, right?
Yeah.
Than if you're forcing yourself to make the stuff that you're not really interested in, but you think your audience is. So that's kind of like the approach that I try to take these days.
Yeah, for sure. That's I definitely felt that. And also like, it's like you said, like you're gonna experience even more exponential audience growth because you're gonna be, you know, in your zone of genius and coming from a place that you're really excited to make content about. So I totally agree. And so since you have made that shift, and like I said, I feel like now people know Charli Prangley, Charli Marie is marketing design lead at ConvertKit. She teaches about design and creative careers. what has kind of been your strategy for growing your personal brand and kind of gaining recognition for who you are and what you do? I mean, I know I've been to your workshop on personal branding, so I feel like you have some experience in this. So I guess other than your content, what else have you kind of done to become known for who you are and what you do?
Are you asking here about more like the visuals and the side of the brand, or like, I don't know, how I describe myself?
Yeah, I just all over, like all round, what have you kind of intentionally done, if anything, to become known for what you do?
Yeah. So I think that I've tried to, like, I have my idols in the industry, where I'm like, you have an amazing personal brand and I just like everything that you stand for, and it's, everything that you're doing. I think you're really cool. I also want to be really cool. And so I'm seeing what you're doing, and I'm not copying, but I'm taking inspiration from the way that you handle things. And I think it's always good to, have people you're inspired by, and make sure that it's a place you want to be going as well. Because I think early on, when I first started my channel and my first blog, I was maybe following the wrong people and like trying to go more into that lifestyle influencer type of personal brand. Whereas now I want to be like a maker. I want to be just like a designer that people know about and who's known for helping people. And so I try to fill my own like content feeds with other people doing that, because I think that's really healthy to be surrounded by that sort of thing. You know how they say you're a makeup of your, the 10 closest people to you or something like that. I think the same applies to people you follow online. I guess I've just been trying to be authentically myself and to not feel pressured in any direction to do something just because I feel like it's what you should do as an influencer or as a YouTuber or that sort of thing. Have my own spin on things. And the main thing, I think, and I know you said aside from content, but honestly it is a lot about content for me, has been to put out the stuff into the world that I want to be seeing from others. Like, cool. I write these income reports every year on my business and the makeup of the different income streams that I have. That's something that I would love to see from more people, because I find it super useful to get ideas for different income streams and to see what's having the most impact for other people. And so I put it out myself, and I just want to be known as a person who is open and honest about things like that. And so that means taking the scary step sometimes and telling the whole internet what your salary is, which is a thing that I did this year. But it's been rewarding for me, because I think it's helped with my personal brand to be known as someone who's very transparent,
Yeah, for sure. And is there kind of other things that you have tried to become known for, known as? And is that something you've done, like sat down and intentionally been like, okay, I want to be known as someone who is transparent and who is X? Or is it just kind of come naturally out of who you are and what's important to you?
I think one thing that I don't want to be known as, that I've been actively trying to push against, has been just being a YouTuber. That's, because that was the main thing, the main content I was putting out there and talking about across my social media, and, the main thing I was promoting a lot of the time. It ended up that's being how people describe me. That was the first word out of their mouth. And it's really important for me to be a designer first and like in everything else second. I think I have an unhealthy attachment to like my career title or whatever as a part of my identity. We actually did an episode about that on Design Life, one of my podcasts, but that's something I've been pushing against. So bringing in a bunch more creative projects and having not everything be in the YouTube basket is a way that I've done that. And also just sharing more of my work, like sharing little work in progress screenshots and things like that, just to constantly be reminding my people, as well as myself, I guess, that I'm a designer. I'm not just a YouTuber, and that the design stuff comes first and is kind of like the reason for the YouTube videos. Yeah. And it makes sense that people were describing me as a YouTuber, because that's what I was saying about myself, It was a great lesson for me in what we put out there is what we're going to have reflected back on us. And all I was talking about was my YouTube videos and like, go watch this video. I'm making the video this weekend. Of course, people were like describing me as a YouTuber. And so toning that down a little bit and talking more about the design side, has, I think, helped to have design be top of mind when people think of me now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think, a great thing to point out that, what you do put out there is what people are going to know you for. And if you don't put out the other things, then they're never going to know that you do those things, or they're going to be drowned out by the one thing you talk the most about, which is a good, lesson in branding, that it's about how you describe yourself, what you put out there about what you do, is what people are going to know you for. So you kind of have to think about what you're putting out there and what you do want to be known for, and how you can make that happen.
Yeah, totally. And I think having multiple channels to be putting that thing out has really helped as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not just like, oh, I'm a designer and also I have a YouTube channel and also there's a podcast. It's like everything is about design. Everything that I do or everything that I put out there. Obviously, I do things in my real life that isn't design related every now and then. Honestly, not that often. But everything that I'm like putting out, I'm not putting out a different random project about houseplants or something like that. Yeah. Saying that because there's a plant behind me. That's the first idea.
There's been everything a few Instagram stories.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Cool. And so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the visual side of your brand. Mm-hmm. So you right now have a handwritten logo, and you have some colors that you use and some great imagery of yourself and some fonts that you use across your website, and a few like distinct visual elements on your website and things. So how has that identity kind of come about over time? Did you start with a logo or anything? What does that process look like?
I did start out with a handwritten like logo saying Charli Marie that I made myself, and then it had an update when I hired Austin Saylor to animate it, and I asked him to also like tidy up the lettering as well and just make it better because he is more talented at that than I am. And so that's been the logo I've been using ever since, really. And the colors have kind of been the same since the start as well. Purple is my main color because that's what color my hair usually is, and it's just my favorite color. And honestly, I think that that's literally the reasons why purple is my brand. I think that's a perfectly fine reason. When it's a personal brand, you can have your favorite color as your brand color. It doesn't. You don't have to go into color theory and stuff like that. And I don't know if that goes against what you teach in all your stuff, Hollie, but that's what I believe.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think it's has to get that deep at all. Yeah,
no. Yeah, and I think that people can overthink their personal brands. Yeah, it can be really easy to, I don't know, use that as a crutch as well and spend way too long being like, oh, I don't have my logo yet, so I can't start this project. Mm-hmm. And that's just an excuse, So I guess, not really focused on updating my brand a whole lot over the past few years because I feel like it's fine. It represents me. The colors make me happy. I really like them. And I like the handwritten aesthetic that comes into things, especially on my YouTube thumbnails. And so that's fine. Let's put the efforts elsewhere into making the actual content and delivering the value. Yeah, for sure. I think, I tell a lot of people who are personal brands like the same thing. Don't worry about a logo. I just recently taught my course about Instagram, and I was like, I'm not even going to talk to you about logos because I actually don't think you need one on Instagram. And I noticed that, you don't use your logo on Instagram. It's your face. It's your profile because that's what people know. And so, it doesn't have to be a logo at all. And you're right that it does stop a lot of people, unfortunately, from just starting the thing that they want to start. So, you don't need one. And like the colors, you're right. Just pick one, but the point is to be consistent with it, and then people know. Like, I think Charli and I think purple straight away. Yes. And that's the important thing, is that people can recognize you with that color. And people do the same with me. It's like orange. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Orange and black and white photography.
Yeah, exactly. It's just about picking what you love, being passionate about it, being excited about it, and then being consistent about it. So, not using your logo on social media or anything, is that something that you intentionally thought about, or?
Yeah, it is, honestly. I think that there's a line with your personal brand where, I think the personal part of that statement is just so important. Mm-hmm. And just like I always want to be a designer first before I'm a YouTuber or all these other things, I always want to be Charli the human before Charli the brand, Yeah. And I'm on my Instagram and I'm on my Twitter to like literally spew my thoughts and like share my life. That's what they're for me, because that's part of my brand, and I'm not interested in being something that I'm not. Like it's part of my brand to just be me, be authentically me, and the people who like that and want to see that will follow, and the ones who don't won't, and I'm okay with that, because I'm always going to be me first rather than a brand. And I do think sometimes that I don't know, I could probably be growing my Instagram audience more if I was doing more teaching on there and sharing like, you know, branded graphics with, you know, thoughts and lessons on design, because I mean, I always stop and read those things when they're on my feed and click through on stories and stuff, but that's just not something I've done yet, because I think it'd be very easy for me, I'm a bit of a workaholic, to be honest, to become too much of a brand and not so much a person if I really leaned into it. And I just need to be able to be myself, to have a bit of an escape sometimes, and to, you know, just make sure I'm staying true to me and not doing things just because it's going to get likes or clicks and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And they do take a lot of work. So
yes, that do.
if you're poor on time, then not often the best option. Especially if you're like, you know, kind of a designer and you want things to look really good and kind of,
which I always do. Yeah.
Same. So it takes a lot longer than maybe it does for other people.
Right.
And so you, as well as your personal brand, also have brands for like Design Life FM. You have the new one for Inside Marketing Design. And so were those did you want them to kind of fit under your personal brand? Was that kind of designed to all work together or kind of be separate? Tell me about that thought process.
Design Life wasn't really made to fit within my personal brand. It is purple as its color, and I don't remember how we settled on that, but it's a very like Fem chose that purple. It's not like my purple, you know. So it's kind of like a bit of both of us. Fem is my co-host, for anyone who doesn't know, by the way. But so that one was intentionally, I think, a separate project that ended up seeming like it fits with my brand because it's a handwritten logo and it's purple, so I guess I just can't stay away from it. And the other one, Inside Marketing Design, well, Hollie designed the brand for that and she did a great job. I wanted something that was handwritten because that is my aesthetic, and I wanted this to feel like it came from me and like Charli Marie made it, but that it was its own thing, and like it was its own separate project that you could tie a bow on and say that's Inside Marketing Design as a series. Just to make it feel a bit more special, I guess, because of the amount of time and effort that I was putting into producing it.
And you know, some of these, like the as far as I'm aware, Design Life FM you did yourself. Like you said, your personal brand you started yourself, and then you got some help from Austin, and then Inside Marketing Design you got my help for. How have you decided to kind of bring someone else in to help you instead of doing it yourself? I mean, like you said, kind of a workaholic, and as designers it's quite you know, we're often kind of like, oh well, I can do it. It's in my wheelhouse, it's possible. So what has how have you decided to bring other people in to help you?
I think that's honestly a sign of growth as a designer, to accept help and to reach out for it. Because I did used to think that I needed to do absolutely everything myself, because I'm a designer, so I can and I should, because otherwise it's not me, you know, and it's like a lie if I put this thing out and I didn't actually design it, because honestly people probably assume I designed all those things because they know I'm a designer. But I don't know, I guess I got to a point where I realized there's people who are far more talented at this stuff than I am, and I want my brand to be good, and so I'm going to outsource and I'm going to reach for that help. And I guess part of it came with when I started earning money from my side hustles too. It meant that I felt like I could invest in hiring people for help, you know, because I'm always going to reach for people that I know and, you know, people who I want to support by hiring them, rather than like, you're never ever going to find me going on Fiverr or, you know, one of those websites and like being like, oh, I just need help with this. I would rather pay like quadruple the price more and get someone who I can support in doing it. So that's been like a joy to be able to do that as well, is to be like supporting other creatives by hiring them and getting things I'm really proud of because someone more talented than me worked on them.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes for the last, or like mantras for the last wee while has been that a no for me means a yes for someone else. And that's like really helped me to get better at saying no and like handing some of those things off, because, you know, I was the same. It was like, I need to do everything and I want to do everything and like I can get paid to do everything. But then it's easier to say no when you think about it. Like, yeah, if I don't do this thing, which I don't have to do, someone else can do it, and it gives them, you know, support, experience. It's a yes for them, which is great.
Yeah, I love that. Love that attitude.
Okay, and so how did you find that process of kind of letting go, letting someone else come in, getting some help with your brands? How was that process?
Well, maybe you can speak to this better than I can, but I don't think I'm a very good client because I am very particular. Like, I know what I want and what I like. I just, like, you know, want someone else to be suggesting it and doing the work for it. And I'm not going to sit there and backseat design or anything like that. And I think part of hiring someone else is letting them have their own ideas. And if you're not willing to let someone do that, then you shouldn't hire someone else. Maybe you just need someone who is an operator of the software to put your idea together. But you know, I'm always I have a very high standard because I am a designer myself, I think. And so, and because it's a personal brand, I think as well, it's like, I have to love it, right? If I'm going to use it to represent my brand.
Yeah.
So yeah, I give feedback and I'm very particular, but also I hire people whose work I already know I love. So
True.
It's, you know, I know it's going to work out and that it's going to be great because I already like all the other stuff that they've done. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Also a nice compliment to me.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, you are a great client.
Okay, good.
Backseat, backseat designer or anything like that. Yeah.
Cool.
Great. I would have given you some helpful feedback in return if you were
yes,
not.
a talking to. Let's say that. Yeah.
Yeah. A kind talking to.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your, I don't know how many years of building your personal brand, what do you think, also your, these other brands as well, what do you think is the kind of biggest lesson that you've learned about branding?
I would say that you have to start from knowing what the heart of it is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, how do you want people to describe this brand? And what do you want people to think about it? And what sort of people are you trying to, like, what stage of their life are they in when they're seeing it, when they're experiencing the content that is under this brand? That's the sort of things I've been thinking about for sure. And I don't know, like with Design Life, for example, we felt like a handwritten logo made sense because we wanted it to feel like a really personal show, and that it's like a show where we're at your level. We're not like above you giving you advice. We're, going through the same things you are in your design career. And we just felt like the handwritten stuff was really friendly. And so that's why we went for that. And I feel like it's sort of the same reason why I've done that with all of my other projects. And I know there's ways to make things friendly that doesn't involve hand lettering, but also I just really like it. Yeah. So yeah, that would be the main thing, I think, is knowing what the heart of it is, but also not being afraid to put a lot of yourself into it as well. And like, I don't know, if I was approaching my YouTube channel as like a client project, I probably wouldn't end up with the colors and the logo and the thumbnail style that I have, because it doesn't make sense on paper for that to be what it is. But it makes sense for giving the brand a personality, and the brand's personality is my personality, right? Yeah. Because it's my personal brand. And so figuring out how to bring that through in the visuals so that it all connects when people see the content, and not being afraid to do that, even though it doesn't technically make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so do you have any other advice for, other creatives out there when they're thinking about branding their passion and kind of growing their creative business or side hustle or whatever it is that they're doing? What advice would you give them?
I think that you should outsource help where you need it, but that if you truly want it to be a personal brand that's a representation of you, then you need to be very involved in the process and be bringing a lot of yourself to it. You can't expect to be hand off to a stranger usually is someone who you're hiring to work on something, or someone you vaguely know, you can't expect them to capture the essence of you in a visual brand by themselves. So yeah, spend some time like thinking through the strategy and what you want this brand to represent before you work with someone, or hire someone who's going to ask you the right questions, so that you can figure that out yourself. That's I think a really important part of branding, and making sure you end up with a visual brand that feels representative of you.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why I preach about brand strategy, because it's it's hard to ask and answer those questions yourself, but it's so important to.
And it's the start of everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, Charli. This was, awesome to chat to you about your personal brand and your other brands that you have created over time. And so, I'm very thankful for you talking to me, and I'm sure that everybody listening will learn heaps from you. So do you want to let people know where they can find you and something that you have got going on right now that you want to share with the people?
Sure. So charliemarie.com. Charli has no E on the end. Marie does. I'm sure Hollie will put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
That's my website, which is like the hub of the links to all of my content. So that's when you can find my blog posts about the business side of things and my income reports, that sort of thing. You can find my videos there, my podcasts there. Maybe I'll shout out my font. That's the thing I'm like kind of most proud of still at the moment. Yeah. It was a long project to get it finished, and it's my first digital product. The font is called Grayscale, and it's handwritten sans serif, because everything about me is handwritten apparently.
So on brand.
Yep, so on brand. So check out Grayscale, which you can find the link to on my website, charliemarie.com.
Yay, awesome. Thank you, Charli.
Thanks for having me.
All good.